Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 13th, 2022 TPB meeting. I want to welcome everyone that's here today. When I also make sure that we wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we move into the holiday season. Today we're going to, first thing after the welcome, we're going to approve the agenda. One thing as you read through the agenda, it said that Mays is going to give an economic development briefing today, but we will not have that today. There is a meeting coming up later this evening that several people want to attend. And so I want to make sure that we can get through the meeting. So we will not have the briefing from Mays. So with that change, I move that we approve the TPB agenda for December 13th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Becky Tuttle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Also, we have two sets of minutes, minutes from October 11th and November 8th. Move to approve those minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Becky Tuttle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the director's report, and Chad will go through about 5 things for us today. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Planning Body. Good afternoon. Reporting some of the activities that staff and at the MPO we have. We start with the long-range transportation plan development phases. As you know, there are 2 important activities that MPO conducts. One is long-range transportation plan, and the other one is short-range transportation plan. The MTP is the long-range transportation plan. And then Ashley, let me request Ashley to update on the schedule and timeline. Ashley, thank you.
Thank you. I am Ashley Byers, Transportation Planning Manager, and we've talked about this a few times, but we are beginning the process for developing the MTP. For the year 2050. And so we'll be forming the Plan Advisory Committee today, hopefully, and then we'll be doing a call for projects next fall through winter-ish and do project selection in the spring of 2024, with the plan being approved in May of 2025. It's due by June of 2025, so we're giving ourselves a month of leeway. And then this is just a more detailed look at that schedule.
In the quarterly UPWP task list, this year, 2022, based on our advice from our vice chair, we wanted to update where we are on the tasks and how we are accomplishing those. And in the agenda item, we also have 2023 tasks developed that will be discussed at a later today during the meeting. But at the moment, could you please update Ashley on the tasks? Thank you.
Sure, yeah. So this table, which is on page 12 of your agenda packet, shows all the tasks like Chad just said, and we have done a lot of work. We have completed all the items, or at least are in progress with them. And so that's pretty darn exciting. And we'll make a new table like this for next year. That's all.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And as you can see, there were new initiatives that were taken by staff, and staff is pretty busy managing projects with consulting firms as well. The next item is economic development presentations. As our Mr. Chair noted at the beginning of the meeting, today Mays was scheduled to present economic development of Mays. As you all know, there were many presentations and a theme that went on for the 2023. Thanks to our chair for having these 2 themes. The previous year was regional connections, and this year was economic development. So in your packets, there are videos and links to the meetings that were presented in the past. You can see those. One nice thing that happened with this theme was knowing each other was a great way of uniting jurisdictions. So I want to thank Chair for that initiative, and we want to continue a theme every year so that each jurisdiction presents those. And then this, that's how the MPO functioning as a collaboration and coming together was a great initiative. So in the package, there are those links. That's all on that update item. So the next item is public engagement and then potential, how there are so many pages on the agenda. So Ashley has some ideas and staff has some ideas as to how do we reduce this in a way using the technology. So let me request again to present on public engagement and packet changes. Ashley, thank you.
Thank you. So we are looking for events that we can go to over the next year to talk about WAMPO and the MTP process. So if you know of any events that are regular or something that's coming up, please let us know. We would love to go to that event and have a table and talk to people. So we're just soliciting feedback and help in finding places to go because we want to go to where people already are. So then potential agenda packet changes, as Chad said, our agenda packets can be quite huge. So we're looking at some ways to help it make it easier for everyone to know what we're doing. So we have an idea of adding an executive summary to each staff report, and then having that executive summary on the staff report and on the agenda. And the executive summary would say why we're doing what it is, what action we would need from you all, and how we would use it. Our second idea is to do a condensed agenda packet that has QR codes and hyperlinks to go to the staff reports and the items. So I have a couple of examples. This shows with the executive summary on the top of each of the staff reports. And here shows the executive summary on the agenda page with then a QR code and a hyperlink to go to those items. We would also not attach the actual document. So like in this packet, we have the UPWP attached in the document. We would hyperlink to it instead. This would make it so we would save a lot of paper also. And then you could still access it, but it would be online. You have any feelings about that or thoughts?
A couple of years ago, we used to have tablets at the meetings. What happened to those?
Yes, I recently learned that evidently the tablets had some issues where it wouldn't always work. And so thinking of trying to do this and maybe we could also evolve into that as well. Just trying to see what we can do.
Any other comments? I personally do most everything on a laptop or a computer and review all this before I come to the meeting so that I'm prepared. But I kind of like the shortened version, especially if we print it out, because if you see what happens when you print it out is we kill a lot of trees. I think it's a little nicer if we don't have to kill all those trees in order to print the entire document out. So that's my personal opinion, but I listen to anyone else. I got a lot of heads nodding that let's use the shortened version. So if that doesn't work, we can always change, but I really don't like printing out documents this thick.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, I got a question. If there was a person that needed a copy of it for some reason, they could request one, right?
Certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we talked about too at our Wichita meeting, maybe even having like a couple copies available just in case, but for the majority, just have the condensed version, but have like 2 or 3 just in case somebody needed one.
Correct. Yeah.
And the manager can tell you that I don't get our agenda books for the county commissioner about this thick. I don't take an agenda book at all. I use my laptop exclusively. As, again, I want to make sure that I have access to it, but I don't need all this paper. Okay, Ashley, I don't see any other comments.
Thank you.
Are you finished with the director's report then?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the next item is consent agenda. Yes.
Okay. Moved, received, and filed a director's report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is consent agenda. And there are a lot of things on the consent agenda. I hope everyone had a chance to look through it, but there are Kelly Rundell, our attorney, has been working on a lot of different things over the past several months, and we brought it to you as we were reviewing these. So things like the employees operations manual, the bylaws for the TAC and the TPB agenda. These you've seen in the past, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to review a few of the others. There are a couple other things in here. The fiscal agent service by the city of Wichita. I appreciate that city of Wichita has agreed to continue that for another period of time. And one new thing that I don't know if we discussed it, I noticed it when I was reading through, was the intern pay scale. The problem is the pay scale doesn't go up high enough that if we give them a pay raise that it can meet that. So does anyone have any questions on any of those items? Because there was a lot of things in the consent agenda today. I don't see anything. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is public comments. Does anyone here in the room or online wish to speak during public comments today? I don't see anything on public comments, so we'll go up to the next item, which is an action item, and that's the public participation plan. And Ashley and Emily are going to be presenting that today. Welcome.
Thank you. Right, so I'm going to go over a little bit about the public participation plan, and then Emily's going to go through the process of how it was developed and what it is. So the public participation plan is one of our required documents, and it has the strategies, techniques, and other ways that we're going to inform and engage the public through our 3C transportation planning process, which is the continuing, cooperative, and comprehensive process. And I like to really think of it as this plan shows the public what we're going to do. And then it also shows staff the process we're going to follow to make sure that we're consistent in everything that we do. So now Emily will talk about how it was developed.
Hi. So the development process, it started in the summer of 2022. There was a brief public survey period in August with the results from that survey analyzed by staff to inform the plan of next steps and opportunities to enhance involvement. That public comment period that happened, it took place from September to November of 2022. Giving the public 45 days to comment or make suggestions or changes and ask us questions over what it's about. So up here and on the presentation, that is our timeline. So it started in summer 2022, and we are hoping to have it implemented in January of 2023 to 2028. So it includes all of our required documents as an MPO, giving a brief description over what public participation we need per those different ones. So those include the MTP, PPP, Title 6, the TIP, the UPWP, and the LEP. So WAMPO uses a variety of techniques to involve the public in making transportation decisions, including public meetings, workshops, exhibits, and other activities held during the development of transportation plans, studies, and projects. The techniques in our toolbox may not be used for every planning process, but are available to be selected based on the particulars of the planning process and the requirements WAMPO has laid out in the plan. So this is our toolbox that we're using. Examples are brochures, drop-in hours, posters and flyers, videos, voting activities, our website, and workshops. So that public comment period that I mentioned earlier, that took place from September to November, it's 45 days, and we did receive 0 public comments over the plan. So why we're here today. This is the action options for the TPB here today. It is to approve the public participation plan as presented, not approve the public participation plan, and approve the public participation plan with specific changes. And we did bring this to TAC, and they did approve the public participation plan as presented.
Well, Emily, thank you very much. One quick question. We have 4 city council members on this, and we have 4 county commission members, and each one of those have either a district advisory board or a citizens advisory board. Would this be something that you would anticipate attending at some point and brief those district advisory boards and citizens advisory boards on what WAMPO does for the community?
Absolutely, we would love to do that. So that goes back to Ashley when she talked about tabling earlier. If you don't want to essentially have us come and table, we could definitely come and talk to everybody's advisory boards. So if you could send me an email or fill out the little half sheet up here, that would be fantastic. Yes. we
Okay,
can
and
absolutely-
then we have a lot of mayors on this and city council members, so they may want to do something similar. So I think it's important, at least it is to me, that we inform the public on what WAMPO does, because a lot of people are really not too familiar with it. And we have the leadership in this room and on this committee to kind of get the word out. So if anyone would like that.
Thank you. I might make a request instead of us for your sanity, maybe as much as anything. And so we don't forget, maybe if you would send us an email asking, and then like, I'll try and be diligent about sending it to my council members who aren't a member of this board. But if you send it out to this body then and ask, pass it on to all your fellow electeds, and if there's an opportunity for engagement, that might be easier than relying on us to get the information to you.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Yes, Troy.
I guess a thought, a lot or a few, or hopefully no one but us really has very many people show up to our city council meetings. And I wonder if perhaps shooting a small video explanation of what we're doing here and the impact and how the community could be involved would be something we could share as a council. All of our followers on our council pages and in the city of Andover would certainly love something like that, and that would allow us to share it, and you'd have more impact, I think, than, although we want you to come too, but
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. We've been looking a little bit into how video can impact more people than we can ever reach. So absolutely. Thank you.
Well, good. Well, thank you. I appreciate you putting together this plan, and I do intend to implement it in my district citizens advisory board. So hopefully we can get the word out a little bit more thoroughly through all of the mayors and city council people that we have. And with that, then I move that we approve the public participation plan as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is the UPWP and Chad and Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Unified Planning Work Program is the next document. And as you have just heard, public participation plan, there were several documents the MPO needs to develop. That's one of the requirements by Federal Highway Administration. And then public participation plan had been one of those documents that staff had just completed and sought your approval, and you approved. And the next is the UPWP document as well. Each of these documents have a certain time period, how often they need to be developed and when they need to get approved. For example, UPWP is every year, and then MTP is every 5 years, and then TIP document is every 2 years. UPWP document is developed, staff work closely with Federal Highway Administration partners, State Department of Transportation partners, and then we're really thankful to Allison and Cecily and our FTA partners, Ava as well. And then, it basically lists the initiatives and the projects that we anticipate to work in 2023 and the estimates of budgets to complete those tasks. If the estimates are changed or tasks are changed, there is always room to revise. And it is common in many MPOs to make revisions if something changes in the middle of the year. But we expect these tasks and budget estimates to be close to accurate at this time. So with that, let me request Ashley to present what's involved in this and what's the action item. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. So as Chad mentioned, this document is developed every year, and this is our primary budgeting document for WAMPO. The document goes through everything that we will be working on next year. And some of these priorities include developing the MTP, administering the TIP, updating the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan, completing a fiscally constrained regional transit study, finishing the comprehensive safety action plan, so that just kicked off. Completing the economic development report, that contract was just signed in the consent agenda, so get that kicked off. And updating the intelligent transportation systems architecture, as well as several other kind of little bit smaller items. The fiscal and budget considerations are, this is funded with federal funds that flow through KDOT, and they're called Comprehensive Planning Grant Funds, or CPG funds. And they require a 20% local match, which comes from MPO dues and then also TIP projects. The total expenditures for the 2023 UPWP is just about 2.1 million. And there is a little handout that I included. It's got orange on the side, and it talks a little bit more about the local match sources. This was added to the UPWP based on the TAC conversation. And so I just wanted to make sure you saw it. The public comment period was September 30th to October 30th, and we did not receive any public comments. And this just goes over again that the orange piece of paper about the local match sources. This was added in after TAC, and then unfortunately it was not included in the agenda packet. So that's why I wanted to make sure it was here. So the action options are to approve the 2023 UPWP as presented, incorporating page 31, not approve it, or approve it with specific changes. And TAC recommends approving it as presented while incorporating this page 31 from the meeting. Are there any questions?
Very good. Well, everyone's had an opportunity to review this, and as Ashley said, it starts on page 31. The UPWP is an important document that we need to pass. So are there any questions whatsoever or any comments? Seeing none, I move that we approve the 2023 UPWP as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next one is the MTP Plan Advisory Committee, and Ashley's still on.
I am, thank you. As we mentioned, we are working on developing the MTP 2050. And so we need to develop a steering committee for this process. It's called the Plan Advisory Committee. We're proposing to have kind of two tiers. The main tier would be the Plan Advisory Committee, which will guide the planning process and comprised of local and state government staff and representatives from professional organizations. But then we didn't want to leave out the public through this process. So we'd like to have a second tier, kind of called a round table, which would be interested residents that we would educate on the process and ask them kind of questions throughout the process. They would be more like a gut check. The Plan Advisory Committee would still be the one that are really advising the plan development, which then would go to TAC and then to TPB for final approval. So this is the draft Plan Advisory Committee. This is on in your packet on page 164. And this was discussed with TAC twice. And the first time they added several people and categories of people. And then we reached out to the different people and got them added. We did think about the interests of the people while we were developing this, because we wanted to make sure we had a balance of interests. So we have people who are interested in roads, bike ped, economic development, land use planning, transit, air quality, safety, government policy, and freight and electric vehicles. This, again, would help guide the planning process and would provide some input. So the action options are to approve as presented, not approve it, or make specific changes. The TAC recommended approving this committee as presented.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. And again, everyone's had an opportunity to read through the MTP plan in our documents today. Are there any questions? Troy.
Mr. President, was there a spot for one additional that would be selected during this meeting today, or did I misread that?
Sure. Do you want to add somebody else?
I didn't have anybody. I just saw it up there. So I was wondering if anybody wanted
Oh.
to volunteer themselves, maybe that would be appropriate for this.
So that spot is for the Transit Coordination Coalition that we're working on. We're hoping to have an additional transit representative, and they're meeting tomorrow, or Thursday, actually. So we're hoping to get that person at that point.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
You're not volunteering today? Very good. Any comments? Seeing none, go back to the motion so I say it right.
Oh, yep.
I move that we approve the 2050 MTP Plan Advisory Committee as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next item is back to Ashley as Project Selection Committee, recommendation for the year-end balance guidance. Oh, Ashley, you're back on.
Yep, thank you. So as part of the project selection committee's process, we had a discussion with Mayor Ushry about thinking of guidance for the PSC. And he recommended coming up with something that we could add to our other guidance in order to help the PSC narrow down decisions, basically. So there are times when we have non-zero balances at the end, or we know we will towards the end of the federal fiscal year in each of our categories. And this can happen because of deobligated projects, canceled projects, new funding programs, or revised obligation limitations. And so we wanted to figure out, how do we create a structure that we can follow to know, so everybody can be on the same page and know what we're going to do with that funding. Of course, this would go through the PSC. They would make a recommendation to TAC. They would make a recommendation to the TPB. And then that would be formalized through a TIP amendment, which would include a public comment and a second round of votes by TAC and TPB. So the PSC met on November 10th and established this priority order of strategies. And of course, the PSC and the TAC and the TPB would have the right to deviate from this order if necessary. But this would then be added into the TIP as part of the appendix that's about the suballocated funding programs management. So this is the priority order process that was developed by the PSC. And so starting in the upper left, the very first thing we would do if there is a surplus in funding is look at if we could shift the funding from the one where there's surplus to one where there's a deficit, if it's eligible. And then if there's still funding left after you do that, then go down to the next one, which is increase project funding towards 80% of the qualifying project cost. So then if there's still enough funding left, we'd go to offer funding to the waitlisted projects. Now this one has an asterisk next to it that was added in by TAC because we are very much aware that this is, they discuss this at TAC, that the KDOT might not be ready to add this project in because of KDOT processes and things. And so we wanted to have this as an option in case we could get it to work, because we're trying to think creatively, but it's possible that it would not be applicable every time when we go through this process. So then the next one would be to move up AC conversions. If there's still funds left, then we would go to move projects up from later federal fiscal years. Still funds left, we would increase funding for inflation and scope changes. And then we would ask KDOT for permission to carry over the funds. Last thing would be a call for projects. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. So then if we have a deficit, we would have a much shorter process. We would then shift funds around so we could cover the deficit. We would shift funds so there's AC conversions in later federal fiscal years, move projects to later federal fiscal years, and then last, stuff would be to reduce project funding, which we would not want to do. So these two kind of ladders, I guess, would provide a structure and formalize what we've already been doing for the last several years. So then the year-end balance guidance options are to approve as presented, not approve, approve with specific changes. The PSC and the TAC recommended approving as presented. And so staff is recommending to approve this guidance with that footnote asterisk that I talked about for the waitlist projects. Are there questions?
Thank you. Everyone's had, again, an opportunity to review this ahead of time, so it should be familiar. Are there any questions of Ashley? And it's important because I think the next step, we're going to use this. So if you don't agree with it, we're going to have to know it now before we move on to the next step. Hey, I don't see any comments then, so I move that we approve the year-end balance guidance as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Okay, you're going to put it in action. And Ashley, you're back up.
That's right. Thank you. And yes, so now we're going to put into action. So for the end of federal fiscal year 2023, we are anticipating to have just over $1.1 million that we need to allocate to projects. And this is because of updated federal fiscal year 23 obligation limitations, carryovers from 2022, in amendment number 2, which is going to be happening in the next couple months. We'll be removing 2 WAMPO funded projects because they're not necessary. And KDOT will be moving a project from 23 to 24. So that gives us this 1.1 million. So at the PSC meeting on November 10th, after we talked through the whole guidance, we then talked about actually implementing it. And so the projects that are in 2023 would be all bumped up to 74.18% of their qualifying phase costs. They were, I believe, in the 60s before. So they're getting closer and closer to the 80% amount. Also, just over 1 million of advanced construction funding would be, local funding would be spent by the city of Wichita in 23, which then would be converted in 25. And by doing these things, we would end up with a close to a zero balance in 2023 and in 2026. So this is the process. And to do those changes, we use just the first 2 boxes in the process. So we shifted funding from program categories and we increased closer to 80%. So this table shows where the funds went. So West Street got some STBG funds, CMAQ and TA funds. And the West Street project has the advanced construction project. There are local funds that are being spent in 2023, which will be converted in 2025. Zoo Boulevard project has STBG, and then Meridian in Valley Center also has STBG. So that gets to the 1.1 million. And then the action options are to approve as presented, not approve, approve with changes. And the PSC and the TAC recommended approving as presented. Are there questions?
Very good. Questions for Ashley? Well, I think Wichita, Sedgwick County and Valley Center will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't see any questions. I move that we approve the FY 2023 WAMPO sub-allocated funding changes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All
Thank you.
right, they're on a roll, Ashley. Next item is the 5310 call for projects closing February 28th, 2023. Emily is on.
Hi, thank you. WAMPO is working with Raven Alexander from Wichita Transit in producing this opportunity. So the 5310 grant cost reimbursement program opened December 1st. This grant provides opportunities for funds regarding transportation for seniors and individuals with disabilities. This will conclude on February 28th, 2023. The public notice is due to WAMPO on December 30th at 5 p.m. for those participating and wishing to have us send out that public notice on their behalf. And for more information, please go to wampo.org/WAMPO -5310. So that is it.
Very good. And this is something that's open at this present time. So if anyone has anything that they can apply for, please make sure that you have it submitted by February the 28th. Anything else we need to do on that?
Nope, that is it. So all of the information, the application, and we did recently just do a workshop. So that video is now posted that had a lot of people attend and ask questions. So go ahead and watch that if you're kind of curious on how that program works and how that all goes.
And you have sent out some emails. I've seen emails on it, so the public should be aware of it.
Yes, we want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to see it and have that as a possibility that they can apply for.
Very good. I appreciate the update. Make sure you apply. Okay. Next item that we have is bike ped counts. Oh, Dora. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Dora Gaia, Transportation Planner here at WAMPO. We'll be going over the 2022 bike ped count results. So this year we had a total of 57 volunteers, 10 of which it was us, WAMPO staff. We did have a couple volunteers that last minute couldn't make it, and we also had weather issues, so that played a factor in it. The majority of the individuals counted fell into the pedestrian category, which is 64%. So that's really good. We have more pedestrians. Traffic in the bicycle rider category slightly decreased though from last year to this year by 1%. And here's just some pie charts that show the traffic distribution from last year to this year. So we can see that the pedestrian increased by 3%, but bicycle decreased 1%. And then the other category, which includes scooters and things like that, also decreased 3%. Here are the top 10 sites for the AADT count projection. So here are the top 10 sites for this year, which is different because usually we have the first one being our Keeper of the Plains, and this year our Douglas and Washington intersection had the most activity. And also the interactive map online has all the rest of the count sites that have all the AADT, all the activity, the average activity for daily travel from 2012 up to 2022. And more projections are also on the packet, the individual packet. Here's the table for this year's projections. It was slightly changed due to some comments we had from TAC, and then also Alan noticing some calculations that were misdone. So we appreciate all the comments that were given to us. So these are the adjusted projections. They should be correct now. And yeah, any questions, comments?
All right, Dora, any questions? Everybody's anxious to go to that next meeting tonight, I guess. I don't see any. Thank you, Dora.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next are committee reports. Executive committee, we did not meet this month. But while I'm on the executive committee, I want to mention a couple things. First of all, we're in the process of evaluating Chad. So if anyone has anything that they'd like us to add to our evaluations, why, please let us know. I had talked with Kelly Rundell, our attorney, and Becky Tuttle, the vice chair, about having an executive session today. But I don't have the executive committee, everyone's input yet at this point in time. But we do need to have an executive session next month during our meeting. And what that means is only the voting members of the TPB can be in the room for the executive session, but the purpose of it will be to discuss Chad's evaluation and also to discuss a pay raise. And even though we'll meet partway through the month, the pay raise would be effective on 1 January of 2023. So the issue that I have honestly is that we do a lot of these things by Zoom. So next month, if you want to participate in the executive session portion of it, please be in the room, because I can't tell on Zoom if there are people that shouldn't be in the executive session. So when we, at the very end of the next meeting in January, when Kelly will provide me a motion to go into executive session, and we'll do that right at the end of the meeting. But we will shut down Zoom. So I want everybody to be aware of that you will not be able to participate on the Zoom meeting. All the staff, everyone else will leave the room so that we can discuss that in executive session. So are there any questions on how that we'll handle this next month? Yes.
And not a question, but maybe just a suggestion for staff when they send out the meeting reminder, they might want to, for the folks who aren't here today and don't thoroughly enjoy the minutes, we might just want to make sure we put that in a reminder when we send out the meeting reminder for next month.
Yeah, and when we put out the agenda for next month, it will have an executive session listed as one of the items for the agenda. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. We don't do it very often. But because it is something we don't do very often, I want to make sure we do it right. Yes, Troy.
An alternative might be for the executive team to actually go to the conference room and leave everyone else here. That way people don't have to leave. It's just a few of us anyway. It's an option.
Well, the entire TPB has to vote on it. So we need all the members of TPB, and I don't know if we'd all fit in that little room.
I just meant for the executive session piece, we could leave, talk, come back, and then they could vote afterwards and no one else would have to leave. I mean, whatever you want to do, just an option.
Okay, well, I'll work it out with Kelly and Becky to figure out how we're going to do it, but we will have, bottom line is there will be an executive session next month and we will hold it as a regular executive session. So I wanted everyone to be aware of that. That's the only thing I have on executive committee, active transportation. Alan, you have anything to say?
We had our meeting last week, had a good update from a number of reports from staff. And for 2023, we're going to be moving into actually developing the active transportation plan. As you saw in the work plan, it's going to be coordinated with the Wichita Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. So got some work to do next year on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. Okay. Safety and Health Committee. Is there anyone to speak on Safety and Health Committee today? I don't see anyone right off. So we'll go to KDOT, and I think all KDOT people, if they're on, they're online, and I can't see who all's online. So is there anyone from KDOT that'd like to speak today from online?
Can you make that bigger? Can I even? How do I?
Anyone from KDOT?
This is Tom Hine. I'm on today. I guess the only piece of news I have, and most of you probably know, that Secretary Julie Lorenz will be leaving us, and the governor will be looking for a new person to be Secretary of Transportation.
Thank you, Tom. And Secretary Lorenz has been fantastic for this entire region and for the state of Kansas. So she's going to be missed. On top of that, some of the key personnel under her are retiring. So there's going to be some big changes in KDOT. And I sure don't want to miss a beat on where we're at with KDOT, because things that are happening in this area are a direct result of what's happened in Secretary's Transportation's office. So if you see her, I've already sent her an email telling her how much I appreciated her, but let her know that all of WAMPO certainly appreciates her also. Okay, I don't see one. Thank you, Tom. Is anyone on from Federal Highway?
Yes, this is Cecily Cochran. We have nothing new to report.
Very good. I appreciate it. Thank you all. Okay, is there any other business then that has to come before our meeting today? I don't see anyone. Anything else? Again, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for what you do for WAMPO. Some people get bored with this organization, but I don't. I know Becky doesn't. We do some important things and we provide some important funding to organizations that couldn't afford it on their own. So this is a critical committee, in my opinion. So I've been very happy. I know in February I'll be going off as chairman, but I just at the end of the year want to thank everyone for participating in this because you all do a great job. Our staff does a great job, and thank you all very much. And again, Becky.
And I just wanted to thank you, Chair, for your leadership. You do a really, really great job. You did a lot behind the scenes that not everyone gets to see. So it's a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn? Ain't nothing. You all have a great day and a great holiday. We're adjourned.